All right, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldumoro. This is where Ghana listens to. This is where the world, I believe, listens to. Here on Inside Pages, essentially what we do is that we get into the pages of the newspapers. We look out for what we believe is the most topical issue or the most topical issues. We invite the right guests and ask them the relevant questions. My name is Aldo Moro. It's a pleasure having you join us this morning, and I know that you've never regretted joining the show. So this morning we have two very important, as usual, conversations to have. The first one, it's very legal in nature, and some of us who are mere mortals or laymen would attempt to get into what appears to be a quicksand. But we will do our best. We'll do our best, as we always do on the show. Now, and then the second one has to do with power crisis. And so we'll start with the first one. On the power crisis matter, it's a very simple issue. Yesterday, the Electricity Company of Ghana issued a statement indicating that basically the power crises are over. That's what the ECG is telling us, that the power crises are over. And that if you experience any local outages, if you experience any outage, it could be due to a local fault. That's what the ECG is telling us. Now, this is coming at a time when the PURC, the chairman of the Energy Committee, that's the Honorable Atachia, who will be joining us on the show this morning, and also the PURC and the chairman of the Energy Committee in Parliament, that's the Honorable Samuel Atachia, have made a clarion call on the Electricity Company of Ghana to come up with a load shedding timetable. But interestingly, the energy minister is dismissing that call and asking Ghanaians to produce their own timetable if they deem it fit. So that's where we are. Now, will the fact that the Electricity Company of Ghana telling us this morning, in fact, I will share with you that statement that he issued, telling us that there are over 630 transformers, which they said they're fixing, in some cases they're replacing. The fact that they're done with that maintenance works means that the power crises are over. You tell me from where you're watching us whether what's the situation in your area. But we're going to get into this. We'll speak to an energy expert or an energy analyst to tell us whether indeed from where he sits, whether the crises are over, or the ECG and the energy ministry are only papering over the cracks, which is there are some deep-seated problems that we're not being told. Now, the other angle to this energy conversation is that the PURC, as I did indicate, has actually written to the ECG asking them to provide them with a detailed report on these maintenance works and why we keep experiencing these power outages. Now, the deadline was on Wednesday. The report was sent to the PURC, but without a load shedding timetable. We're told there's actually another report which they're expecting on the 2nd of April. So we'll see what the PURC's next line of action will be. So that's the whole conversation we intend to have about the energy or the power crisis. Now, with regards to the issue about the law, the Member of Parliament for South Dai, the Honorable Dapiamakwo, Nelson Eche Dapiamakwo, went to court, and he had two injunctions. One was to ask the court to declare as unconstitutional the president's decision to reassign ministers whose appointments have been terminated without recourse to Parliament. He says it is in flagrant disregard of Article 84, 1 and 2 of the 1992 Constitution. The Attorney General, and of course that's the first one, and the second one, he filed an interlocutory injunction to the court, asking the court to injunct Parliament from going ahead to vet and approve some of these ministers. On Thursday, the court dismissed that application based on an application of expedited action by the Attorney General through the Registrar's Office to the Chief Justice, asking for a rushed right, or to rush the Chief Justice into looking into the matter. So he applied for an expedition. But he did that on the blind side of the opposing party. And I'm talking about the Honorable Member of Parliament for South Dai, that's Nelson Dapimopo, and his counsel. They raised some serious concerns about that. They're saying what the Attorney General did was wrong, even in law and administratively. Now we're going to get into that and ask the first question. Did the Attorney General err, or what he did is perfectly understandable, it's perfectly normal? So that's what the debate is. And more importantly, now that the road has been cleared, what is Parliament going to do? Are they going to recall? Remember, Parliament is in session, the Parliament is on recess. Are they going to recall the members and get these ministers to be approved and so on? So what would that mean? We'll get some legal understanding of that as well. But also remember that the NDC has raised some grave reservations about the posture of the Chief Justice, that the Chief Justice scheduling of court cases is very problematic. I'll also tell you why the NDC has issues with that. So these are the two issues that we intend to look at. But first, let's start with the issue of the energy crisis. And Derek, if the ECG statement is ready, if we can show it on TV, we can put it on TV and then read it read it to the attention of our listening public. But we'll take a break. When I come back from the break, I'll introduce my resource persons, and then we'll read the ECG statement, and then we'll start the conversation. Stay tuned in.
No mother who has lost a baby will have a reason to lie that my baby is not dead or my baby is dead because there was DUMSOR. Come on, show some candor, show some sensitivity, show some respect. It is indisputable that we are in DUMSOR. The regulator says we are in DUMSOR. That is PURC, finish. All DUMSOR be DUMSOR. What responsible governments are supposed to do for their citizens is to give them a load-shedding timetable so that at least they can plan their lives, because electricity is an essential commodity for the operations of individuals, businesses, and institutions, including hospitals. Lives are at stake here. And so it is an insult to the sensibilities and intelligence of Ghanaians for a Minister of State, our employee who we pay with our taxes, to tell us that if we need a load-shedding timetable, we should bring our own. What kind of insult is this? What kind of impudence and arrogance is this? The regulator has directed you, giving you a deadline by 2nd April to publish a timetable. Are you saying that they are all NDC people at PURC? Are you saying that they are all being partisan, they don't know what they are talking about? This problem has lingered on for a long time. And like you said, it's a financial problem owing to the mismanagement of the power sector by this government. But whatever the problem is, Ghanaians want the problem fixed. And in the time being, Ghanaians want honesty on the part of their leaders, sensitivity, and some respect. And by respect, I mean publish a load-shedding timetable. If you, as Richard Ahiagba, cannot support this simple, patriotic, commonsensical demand, then all the things you come here to talk about, that we should be nationalistic and all that, is all hogwash.
And the last I checked, Akosombo was down. These are issues that started this year, January, February, toward March. They had a number of their plants down, including, I think, the Tico was down, I understood. Akosombo is down. I think I have a list of them here. But generally, it's an issue to do with technical challenges that they are dealing with, as a matter of fact. Yes, so I think in January or so, Akosombo number 1 was down. Tico, Akosombo that produced about 160, Tico 110, Send Power 350, B number 3 I think was down for plant maintenance. The Twin City also down for plant maintenance. So there's general difficulty through the power generating companies in making sure they are producing, because those maintenance are necessary, and then the unplanned equipment going down also is a factor that is of limiting capacity and ensuring that we don't have enough power to go around. So these technical issues, by understanding, I think the last I spoke with 2 Saturdays ago, I spoke with the authorities or people who are within the space, told me that they are coming along with a solution, and so therefore the matter would actually be resolved very quickly. And you have seen some improvement in the situation. In fact, the ECG boss indicated to me in the conversation that they had to fly in engineers to help bring those equipment back. But you see, people are moving to make it about timetable. But the thing is about fixing a problem.
So we shouldn't plan our lives?
No, I'm saying that. I know you can plan your life and we must plan our lives. But I'm saying to make it about that, to create the impression that we are in, DUMSOR era in the sense that we don't have generation capacity. It's not
Richard, I just told you that when the minister announced DUMSOR 3 weeks, ECG gave us a timetable.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. All I'm trying to let you know is that the problem we have is not a problem of lack of generation. It's a mechanical issue.
It doesn't matter whether it's generation, whether it's financial, whether it's this. I don't have power.
Yeah.
The energy sector, the current power cuts. Some people are saying that you made mention of this. You use this as a campaign against John Mahama, and now we are experiencing a worse situation under President Akufo-Addo. Would it reflect in the 2024 election? Would it be something that people will stand on to vote?
If you are comparing 4 years, MPP administration, energy sector is 300 times better than John Mahama.
But we are still experiencing DUMSOR.
Nobody has said we haven't. I'm just saying it's far much better than John Mahama ever did.
You do admit that there's DUMSOR?
That is the word you used. I have never used that word. I've promised you that we are going to work on it, and it's not a work that is a single event, it's a process, and we'll continue to work on it for the energy sector to become better.
Have you heard of calls for a timetable?
Ask those who want it to bring it.
They should bring the timetable.
If there is, I haven't seen any timetable. So
when people are calling for it,
say bring a timetable. What do you mean? The ECG says that there's no.
All right, so that was the energy minister interacting with a Joy FM reporter. I want to give credit to Joy FM for that tape. Let me introduce my resource persons this morning, and I have the Honorable Alex Segbefia, a very hard-working member of the NDC, who's made time off his very busy schedule to join us. We're grateful for that, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sir. Your microphone is actually off if you can switch it on. Sure. Yes, it's on now. It's on now. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Let me also say that I have Nana Mwesi, the seventh, who is the Executive Director for the Institute of Energy Security. I'll start with him would have about 10 to 15 minutes conversation because he has a coronation program to attend. So I'm just wondering, Nana Mwesi, before we proceed with the conversation, what is that big event that's coming off this morning?
Yes, so I am currently in Ekunfiabor, and we are installing our Tufuhima, that is to say the leader of the Asafo company, okay. The queen mother of that Asafo company is the one we are installing today. Then also Nkoso Hima is also leading another part. So it's a whole lot of things we are doing here this morning at Ekunfiabor.
Oh, then that's a very, very busy day. It's a very significant, a very important day for you, isn't it?
Exactly the case. But I have to spare some of my time to attend to national issues. That's why I agreed to join you this morning before we start the program at 8:30.
Right, of which we're most grateful. So it's 19 minutes past 8. Let's try and squeeze this in between your very busy schedule. So let's do this. Now, I'll start with this. So the ECG has issued a statement, and essentially what they're asking us to do, that we can go and sleep. We don't have any problems anymore. Now, it says that the Electricity Company of Ghana wishes to inform our cherished customers and the general public that we have a stable national power supply, which is a stable national grid. And it says any customer who is currently experiencing power outages due to a localized fault, And it says, please call our, contact center on 03 blah, 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 for immediate action to fix the outages and restore power supply. And it says, we're sorry for the inconvenience. We wish you a happy Easter. Essentially what they're telling us is that the problems that occasioned, or the factors that occasioned the power crisis we've been experiencing the last few weeks have been dealt with, has been resolved. Is that the same information you also have? Is that the same sense you also get?
Thanks for having me, Mo, this morning once again. And I would have wished that you also put out some of their statements relative to Greco's outages from the same ECG.
True.
That is telling us that if there are box supply points that they have to receive power from, and that is managed by Greco, and for each box supply point or numerous of them, there are outages. It means that power is not flowing through those bulk supply points. And so they are able to produce power to some areas. Before we finish our discussion, I want you to put that one out there for our viewers and listeners.
Fair enough.
But tomorrow, whichever team is managing the PR department of ECG is doing the company a disservice. You see a lot of inconsistency in their communication. At one breath, a 630 transformers being overloaded, hence will probably have to trigger one fuse or one conductor or the other. That may result in outages in some local areas. 630, and you wonder whether all the 630 transformers got overloaded overnight, and there was no plan for all that to maintain and upgrade in order to be able to contain the amount of power that will go through that. But let's come back to the statement. You see, if you say ECG is assuring consumers that there is a stable national power supply, into brackets, a stable national grid. Moreover, I think the ECG want to confuse Ghanaians. If they don't want to confuse Ghanaians, then probably they are confused themselves. They must not equate a stable national power supply to a stable national grid. The two are different, Moro. A stable national power supply typically will refer to consistent availability of power or electricity to consumers from various sources, from power plants, from renewable energy sources, and all that.
Right.
It indicates that there is minimal interruption or outages in terms of electricity supply to consumers. Will you say, based on this definition, will you say that the ECG has a stable national power supply? Are you not seeing disruption in your system? Are you not seeing power outages? More, are you not seeing load shedding? All right, this is power, power supply stability. Now let's go to the grid. If you say there's a stable national grid, of which you want to equate that to the stable national power supply, it's not the case. A stable national grid will typically also refer to the infrastructure or the network that a distributor or a transmitter of power will use to move the power to the receiving ends. If it's a distributor, then I mean to consumers. And this grid may involve some substation, some transformers, and all that. This is a grid matter.
Right.
And so a stable grid is different from stable electricity supply. They must not confuse the two. And so we at IES believe that what the ECG is now churning out is another diversionary tactics and something to also assure Ghanaians that everything is okay. Meanwhile, we know that everything is not okay. The ECG knows that everything is not okay. Moro, from the beginning of this year, right from January, let me use just January, up to yesterday, the amount of power produced from the entire power system hasn't been more than 3,300 megawatts. Meanwhile, our peak demand between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. is roughly 3,700 megawatts. And so, if yesterday they produced our 3,300 megawatts, and our peak demand is 3,700 roughly, that means that there is a shortfall of 400 megawatts.
Right.
That shortfall must be managed by load shedding. If they don't shed load and they're forced to put out all the 3,300 for all the consumers, there will be either a brownout or a blackout because it's not enough to serve our load. Hence, some section of consumers will have some power and others will not have power. That's what's happening. If you go back to GRISCO's own statements the last 2 days and yesterday, reference to GRICO, they are saying that, look, GRICO is not giving us enough power for us to distribute. That's why we are shedding load. If you read the statement from POOL, the ECG or the utilities, workers union, last 2 days they issued a statement in defense of ECG.
True.
And they were clear in the statement.
Yeah.
That the power they receive from GRICO is not enough to cover all our demand. And so if you come and tell us today that there's a stable power supply and that there is no outages, there are no disruptions, I'm sure that the Ghanaian also have a different experience. And this is one of the experiences that I'm sharing as a Ghanaian and a consumer.
Now, why do you think that the ECG has been very economical with the truth? I mean, if you read the report and the response to the PURC based on the directives that were issued by the PURC to give it a comprehensive report on what's been happening with the power sector, they still are not able to tell clearly and categorically and specifically to PURC that we have a generation shortfall. We have a generation deficit. Why do you think they're being economical with the truth? It has to take the Public Utilities Workers Union to come out and say that, look, this is nothing to do with, the transformers, over 630 transformers that we are servicing, some of which we are doing infilling, and that we have a generation deficit. That's the problem, as you yourself attested in that submission you just made. Why do you think the ECG is doing this?
The ECG, unfortunately, is being used to, to clear all the doubts in the system. Ordinarily, ECG will not issue a statement or must not issue a statement without referencing what is happening in on the transmission grid. Normally, you will see GRICO issue a statement and say that we have a challenge with this box supply points, so Ghanaians must bear with us. Then the ECG will come and say, yes, on the back of GRICO's pronouncement or release, we are unable to service every consumer, and that's what's happened. That's what's happened all the time. Unfortunately, we are not seeing today. GRICO is not talking. You don't get the energy minister come clear. And the first time the energy minister spoke relative to the load shedding we are still seeing on DUMSOR was last week. And it was blunt and it was so clear in his mind that ECG will not provide any timetable. And that anybody who is asking for a timetable must provide one himself. It shows clearly that it is the energy minister that is preventing the ECG from putting out a timetable. The energy minister is constraining them from doing their work. And to the point that it could even insult the PURC, a whole regulator of the power sector, to say that if you need a timetable, provide one yourself. Because it was the PURC that made a public pronouncement that ECG give consumers a timetable. And then the minister says it's not coming out. Unfortunately, for politicians, Giving out a load shedding timetable means there is DUMSOR, and so there shouldn't be one. But Moro, I think it's just common sense that you don't control the amount of power that you sell to your consumers. Somebody give you the power, and so the amount they give to you, the people that you can service them, you service.
Hello? What I think we
The
have
others that you cannot see.
All right, please go ahead.
Moro, do you get me?
I can hear you. I
Good.
can hear you, sir.
So you give them an indication of your difficulty for meeting their need, and so you give them a timetable to plan their life. But that is not the case, because the energy minister, and we're putting it bluntly once again from the next of IES, is preventing the ECG from putting out the timetable.
Well, the energy minister says those of you who are calling for a timetable or a load shedding management timetable would have to produce your own load shedding timetable, because he doesn't approve of it. He doesn't agree that we need a load shedding timetable. In fact, in that interview, he dismisses the fact that we're having DUMSOR. What do you make of what the energy minister said?
I think I've laid it bare. One, DUMSOR, it's not for the energy minister to define. It's the experience of consumers, what they go through. They share their experience. And consumers are saying that we are not getting power as and when we need it. And that's, let me use myself as an example, a prepaid consumer of ECG, meaning that I've paid for the power. And if I check my credits, I have more than 406 credits on my meter. Paid about 2 weeks ago. So you have my money in your pockets, and you are not giving me power. I live in Pong, and within the enclave of Pong, trust me, ask every resident of Pong. At the height of 2014, 2015, 2016 DUMSOR, Pong, we experienced maybe just one outage in 1 month, once in 1 month. Today, it's a daily occurrence at home. And in about 48 hours, I will lose power for almost 12 hours. That's a quarter of my life in 2 days without electricity.
True.
And so I say I'm experiencing DUMSOR because my light doom, and I don't know when it's come. And once in a while, it's so. And it's consistent. But then if that says there is no DUMSOR, all right, I'm sure it's living somewhere and not in Ghana. A statement that there shouldn't be any, we shouldn't expect any timetable, and that's, if Moro needs one, go and produce one yourself. If Nana Mwesi need a timetable, Nana Mwesi should go and draw a timetable and paste it on his wall. If the PRC is asking for a timetable, the PRC should churn out one itself. And like I said, the energy minister is restraining the ECG from putting out that timetable. And if you listen to Pool, they were clear in their statement that Greco should come and tell everybody how much power it gives to every box supply point or to ECG. Based on that, they also issue the timetable. And so don't expect any timetable anytime soon until the minister removes his foot off the paddle and until Greco indicates in public to ECG that I am unable to give you that bulk volume that every consumer will need.
And now, my penultimate question to you, because I know you have to attend to your coronation program. Now, you insist, I want to believe, based on everything you said, that a timetable, a load shedding timetable, is imminent. It has to happen. Despite the fact that we're done fixing our transformers, we've serviced them, and we're good to go. You're still insisting that we need a load shedding timetable. Is that it?
ECG can service every transformer, conductor, and let's say they have a robust transmission or distribution grid. They have everything right. Let's assume so. That dealing with the 630 overloaded transformers means that there's a stable grid. Let's assume so. However, the ECG will require more than 3,400 to meet the demand of local customers. Greco, the amount of power given to them by Greco is less than 3,000. And so they have to share some load. And so some parts have to do, then some parts has to stop. And so whether the issue is solved from UCG's end or not, there will still be power outages. Let me even reserve the word DUMSOR and use the word power outages. We'll still have it.
Now you're saying that, in fact, you're on record to have said that this DUMSOR thing is going to linger on for a very long time. And please explain what you mean by that.
Someone will come and say it's a technical challenge. From where we sit, it's a financial problem. You know, in the power sector, what oils and lubricates the entire sector and makes sure that it's functioning efficiently is liquidity. Anytime you have liquidity challenge, then of course you must expect that the power system will suffer. One, somebody supply the fuel, the person must be paid. Somebody transmit the fuel, WAPO, natural gas once in a while, and must be paid for the transmission of same. Somebody generate the power, IPPs involved. And we hear them sometimes come and say government owes them, so they will shut down. That is correct. Somebody transmits and must maintain that system that's used for transmission. And somebody distributes and must maintain the distribution grid. If the amount of revenue raised at the end of the day is not enough to cover all the costs incurred in the value chain I've just spelled out, it means that there will be challenges. If we don't pay the fuel supplier, of which we have the same challenge today, they will be unwilling to supply the fuel. That's why you find some power plants idle and not being dispatched. ECG will come and tell you 630 transformers are down. Granted is the case. It's the case because they are not getting enough money to upgrade the system and maintain the system to be robust. Same with transmission. WAPCO will come and tell you, since the beginning of last year, how many times have WAPCO threatened us and closed their valve, restricting the flow of natural gas to power producers. It's all financial. Let's thank God for the hydro section of the power plants or the power generation system. Akosombo is generating very well. Let's nobody lie to you that there's Spenker H at Akosombo. All the 6 turbines are running and they are producing more than 900 megawatts. We is producing, Bon is producing, they are sustaining us. Senate is down, Amandi is down, T3 is down, Ameri is down. About 6 power plant thermal are all down. Why? Some don't have fuel and some could not do their plant maintenance for financial reasons, and that's they are down. This is the bare fact.
Okay.
And so any technical hitch is induced by financial constraints and illiquidity.
All right.
Any fuel supply restriction is induced by inability to pay and not paying promptly as and when we need it.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Nana Mwisi, the 7th, the Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security. Let me now quickly speak to the Honorable Samuel Atacha, who is the Chairman of the Chairperson of the Energy and Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. He's also been following with rapt attention what's been happening within the power sector. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Page. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Same here. Same here.
All right. Now, Honorable, so from where you sit, I'm sure based on your own research, based on a few calls you've made or some calls you've made, trying to follow up both as a consumer and also as the chairperson of the Mines and Energy Committee, what have you been gathering as being the cause of the intermittent power outages that we're facing, and what steps have you taken so far in getting to the bottom of it?
Well, I think the gentleman who spoke previously has summarized everything, you know. So it's a value chain crisis, and you should see it as such. If we're not careful, then the distributor, ECG will be the end of our jokes, you know. So what is going on here is very simple, that a very serious component of electricity production, which is gas, and then as well as fuel. I mean, it's sometimes a challenge. The people who produce the power, the independent power producers, are also going through some crisis sometimes in terms of maintenance and essentially underpayments coming from the distributor. And the distributor has a problem for the simple reason that the analysis are showing that he's going through about more than 30% losses in terms of what is, distributed and the returns. That is a fairly serious trouble that the distributor is going through. So when you look at all these matters and the fact that we don't have a buffer of fuel, which is a necessary raw material for power generation, or we've not also had the good sense of saying that, look, why don't we buy the fuel, which is non-negotiable if you want to generate electricity. Let's buy enough stock so that at the end of the day, as we are selling the electricity and recouping some money, we'll just ensure that we buy some more fuel so that we never run out of fuel. So there's the cocktail of troubles that have undermined electricity generation currently. But it is not a hopeless situation. If we pay regard to the fact that we need power and electricity for the economy to take, then every money should be found in this situation so that we don't get into a very terrible situation of a permanent DUMSOR challenge. So this is how I see it for now. But what is very critical is that we are going to bring all the players in the value chain to Parliament for an interrogation, and then we'll be able to see the problems from all the dimensions, and then we come out with some strong suggestions to the government. But I'm tempted to believe that the government is actively aware of what is going on. Everything is being done to ensure that the nation will not plunge into the old DUMSOR situation.
Sorry, my understanding is that you had attempted to invite the guys in the value chain. I'm talking about ECG, Gridco, and some of the power producers to appear before your committee to explain to your committee what exactly is happening. But there was an intervention by the energy minister who said he was out of town and so on and so forth. What is the story there?
Yes. You see, half the time, if you are not careful, you'll be fed with ignorance. So we were trying to get the players in the value chain to be seated before Parliament. And then we'll swear them in and then begin to interrogate the matters. But because the minister said it's a very sensitive matter for his ministry, was craving the indulgence of the committee to have it adjourned until it returns into Ghana. And when it's returned, then we can convene it. He wants to sit in the meeting. In all fairness, that is a very, wise request that he made. And I didn't see that we should turn it down because at the end of the day, he will be able to superintend over the matters properly and the buck stops with him. So very soon, he's here in Ghana now. We're going to converge and then we listen to all the issues from the key players in the value chain.
Okay, and you're saying that is very soon. How soon are we looking at? Next week, next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks?
We want to do it next week because, you see, we don't want to sit down and just say that, we have some challenges and we should be idle. You know, although we are on recess, it behooves the committee to be working because what is happening is critical and we can't delay any longer in interrogating the matter.
Mm. Well, it may be late in the day. It may not necessarily be a useful exercise because ECG has just issued a statement asking Ghanaians or informing Ghanaians to now take it easy because the problem has been resolved. We have now a stable power grid and that in transformers, over 630 or so, which were being fixed or being maintained, they are done with that, and so we shouldn't have any problem with power outages. But even if you do have a power outage problem, it could be due to a localized fault. So would you still or after what the ECG has said, still be interested in inviting everybody to the table for a conversation on what's happening, what the way forward is?
Very much so, because the question will be posed, why didn't you anticipate this trouble? What was your sense of the future? Why should you be running an ambulance situation? So these are matters that are very critical. So that sometimes we prompt them onto good works. We don't sit down there and then we're having a challenge in this critical moment of the year. So as for the interrogation, no matter how you say it, it has to be done. And they'll be able to, plot all the mess and see how we shouldn't repeat it. It is imperative that we meet, the stakeholders in the value chain.
Finally, you're on record to have joined the bandwagon of persons who are asking for a timetable so that we can properly organize our lives and plan our lives. Why do you agree with those who say that we need a timetable, a load-shedding timetable, I mean?
Yeah, so you don't give the consumer of electricity a shabby treatment. You see, you have a problem, and people should plan their lives. It's very important. I'm sure you've ironed your clothes in the studio.
Yes.
And probably if you understood that where you live, this is the time that you won't have power, you iron your clothes in advance. People might have stuff in their fridges and the rest of it. They might go bad. Do I cook quickly to save the trouble of getting my stuff going bad? You see, so we'll plan with the timetable in terms of our lives. I don't think anybody will be asking for too much if, he knows in advance that there will be power outage, and therefore this is what I should do, even if there's a power outage, my life will not be in a mess. So I believe it is eminently sensible that the timetable should be out there. People will plan their lives around the timetable. And I'm also praying that this matter will be out of the way so that we won't have this conversation and be looking at more serious matters of the economy.
Well, your colleague, who is the Menchia South Member of Parliament and the Energy Minister, thinks otherwise. He says anybody who thinks that they need a timetable should produce their own timetable, because he doesn't believe that, he doesn't think that we need a timetable. You clearly don't agree with him based on what you're saying.
Yes, I've said it, but I don't know the context of all that, but I've said that that would be very unfortunate, and I want to repeat it. It's critical that we don't joke with electricity, and I've said that when it comes to electricity, it doesn't wear party colors. We should bear in mind that everybody consumes electricity, and that is, if you like, is becoming like the oxygen of life in some sense. So I don't know the full context of what he said, but the timetable is eminently sensible for the planning of life and how things should be done. If even you have a generator in your house, then you know that, this time of the year or this time of the day, I won't have power. So why don't I go and buy diesel? So it's at the centrality of how we organize our lives. I don't have the full context, but I don't know why. He asserted so, and I still want to say it is unfortunate, but it will be remedied.
All right.
It will be remedied.
Okay. All right, Honorable, thank you very much for accepting to talk to us this morning. It's actually a pleasure talking to you, sir.
My joy as always.
Thank you. That's the Honorable Samuel Atacha, who's the chairperson of the Energy Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, telling us what this committee intends to do in the midst of what appears to be a challenge with the power supply. He's told us that next week he will be inviting the MD for ECG, the manager of GridCo, and also the manager of VRA, and all the other guys who are in the whole energy supply chain to appear before his committee to explain to the committee what exactly is happening and what the way forward is. So you heard it right here on Metro TV, so this is breaking news for you. But he's also condemned the energy minister. He said it's unfortunate what the energy minister has said about produce your own timetable, because that is wrong. We need to plan our lives, and Ghanaians asking for a timetable is well within our right, and it's actually a valid, a legitimate call. That's according to the Honorable Atachia. Now, I'll come back in studio and speak to the Honorable Alex Segbefia, who is the Director of International Relations of the NDC. Today we're going to be doing a one-on-one on this topic, and also the next topic. There'll be others who will be joining us via Zoom and on phone at some point. So I don't want anybody saying that, well, why are you only hosting the NDC? you just heard me talk to Atachia. And also on the matter of the Supreme Court matter, there's a man who will be joining us from the Attorney General's office, and who will be speaking to us as well. It's 0249 155 646, 0249 155 646. Now, that's the WhatsApp line for those of you who would want to contribute to the show. It's 0249 155 646. So join the discussion with your comments on this number. Tell us, what's the past situation in your area? I'm very curious. I want to know. Yeah, what's the past situation in your area? ECG says they have fixed the problem, and so if you have, a couple of, power outages here and there, 1 hour, 2 hours, it's because of a localized fault. Do you agree with them? Share your experiences. Honorable Alex Segbefia, the minority in Parliament has actually had a cause to issue a statement asking, again, reminding the ECG to come up with a timetable, especially, and then also focus more on institutions that are into health delivery. Following what has happened at the Tema General Hospital, you want to throw a light on that, or do you have something you want to say, preliminary comment, before you speak to the statement?
First and foremost, good morning to you, and good morning to our viewers and listeners.
Right.
And equally importantly, good morning to Nana Amwisi the Seventh, right, and my colleague Atachia, Honorable. There's an adage which says that water is life.
Right.
If that adage is correct, then energy is survival. And going straight to the issue of the hospitals,
right.
When we all watched or saw what was happening with children in incubators, etc., as a result of a lack of load shedding, or even whether there should even be load shedding in areas where there are hospitals, it really brought a lot of concern to a number of us, more especially since I've been health minister before.
Right.
I could actually understand. And the very least one would have expected would have been a demonstration of empathy from the Minister of Energy. I think his statements were, putting it mildly, unfortunate. They showed a complete disregard for what people are really going through, a complete disregard for his role as a minister in all this. And as Nana Mwisi actually pointed out, it seems he's the one who has decided, for the basis simply of, and I put it in this way, ego of the MPP, not to ever have been, for someone to be able to say there was DUMSOR. It's a political issue.
Yeah, but releasing a timetable then makes it official, doesn't it?
That is why they will not release a timetable.
So you understand? I mean, you're a politician.
Yes, but it is wrong.
Why?
Because we are politicians. Didn't we do so?
Yes, you did.
So there's no crime.
And you paid a price for it.
They
don't want to pay a price for that.
They are going to pay the price one way or the other.
Right.
MPP are on their way out.
Okay.
They're just making matters worse. So that for me is not the issue. Okay. But why should we suffer? As a result, why should people in hospitals, and why should we suffer? How callous can you get? Just give us a timetable. Up until 2 days ago, I don't know about yesterday, I didn't go to an area, but I'm sure if you get the phone calls, people would have been experiencing DUMSOR. Now, the maximum output of plants in Ghana is in the region of about 5,134 megawatts. That's if you take plants, installations, independent power suppliers, Akosombo, everything. But the dependable capacity is actually about 4,710.
Okay.
Okay. Let me give a margin of amounts that are needed as electricity you create in case of emergencies or whatnot. So let me even remove 200 or 300 megawatts from that and say that we are about 4,500, 4,400. You've heard from an expert who is telling us that at the moment, we are only producing 3,300.
Right.
Out of this 4,500 that we could produce.
So ab initio.
Ab initio from the beginning.
There's a deficit.
There's a deficit.
And it's big.
And it's huge.
So what it means is that there are areas today that are not getting power because it's being shared.
Look, you have to then ask yourself,
yes,
what was the meaning of NDC have created too much excess power? What was the meaning of that?
Right.
Because you are only able to produce 3,300 at peak time of the current power plants in the country, which are 4,500, 4,700, if you just use the dependable capacity. So, this shortfall, you just have to go to each power company and say, and he gave this thing, Asogli, how much are you producing? This group, how much are you producing? And you find out that, as he said, some are not producing because they don't have money to buy fuel.
Meaning that
it's a money issue.
It's a money issue.
Yes. And you see, when even they talk about, contracts that were signed, they, in the last 7 years, have also signed similar and different contracts. They've even moved stuff that John Mahama brought in to Kumasi.
The Ameriplant.
Ameriplant.
Is in Kumasi.
So you cannot fault the NDC for what it did. Now yours is to buy fuel and make these plants run. It was also us who created ESLA Fund. So somebody come and explain, how has this ESLA Fund been helping to reduce the debt of the energy sector? And why haven't we looked rather to be increasing it instead of thinking of COVID fund?
Right.
So you have a mismanagement issue. Any way you look at it, you toss and turn it. With ego problems attached to it, we are finished. I mean, why in heaven's name won't you just tell us that? Look, in my hometown, we have a freezer. We put meat in it for a function we are supposed to have. The meat is spoiled.
Yeah.
The meat is gone. So we are going to buy again.
Nobody's going to compensate.
No, it's gone. And this is just me as an example. How many people cannot come and tell you a story that my child died or I had a problem? My child is now disabled because there was no oxygen to the brain or whatever. Yeah. How many people?
Yeah.
But we have to suffer in silence. And the least we could have expected was a show of empathy from the minister. So I must commend Honorable Atachia because he's been candid.
Right.
He has not attacked his colleague, but he says, I don't necessarily agree.
In fact, he's been fairly patriotic and
exactly.
nationalistic. Yeah.
And that is what we want to see. But this attitude of our energy minister is unfortunate.
Right.
And I've given you breakdown of figures. In this country, we then had our brother who was with Sami Jemfi.
Right. Richard Ayagba.
Richard.
Yeah, walking us through the number of plants that
giving us issues about Akosombo
yes.
and this and that.
Taco.
But at no point has anybody said some of these plants can't run because we haven't paid them.
He just said his maintenance works. In fact, he went to the extent of saying that there are some technical guys who have been imported into this country to help fix those plants.
We were talking...
You say it's not true?
It cannot be true. Why? People can come and do maintenance. But is it the maintenance that has created the problem? In any event, there's a timetable for maintenance of all these plants. Have they kept to the timetable? If you're supposed to maintain something in March and you wait to November, it will break down in September. You have a problem. So even that is questionable.
Right.
What is the maintenance culture? How much money have they paid people to maintain their plants?
So I guess
as of 2023, we were owing 1 point, I think it was about 1.7, 1 point,
I think 1.3 or so.
1.7 billion. Yes, in dollars. To the IPPs.
To the IPPs.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
So that's the standing debt in the energy sector. So we in NDC are watching it closely because we know we are coming to inherit this. And we just know that we have a leader in John Mahama who can fix these things because he has done so before. Now people will at least understand him a bit. Because we're just going from one bad situation. Look, let's go historical. Collection of money by ECG, it was a PDS that was coming to solve this problem. We lost $190 million when the US pulled out of the PDS deal because we could not sort it out. That is part of the problem we are facing today. Any way you look at it, there has been total failure management-wise.
Right.
So, look, there's DUMSOR. Call it what you like. What's it called? Power outages, etc. There's DUMSOR. And if they haven't found some miraculous money from somewhere and decide, for example, that they won't pay any people their bonds, they will not, because the pot is the same. Or they get some loan or grant from somewhere to just go and pay IPPs for them to then give us power. We are going to have the DUMSOR because that is the bottom line. They have stretched the power, IPPs, the producers have stretched. Akosombo should not be a problem because we've just had a spillage. In the past, the reason we were having problems with DUMSOR was that in the hydro sector, we didn't have enough water on a 6-7 year cycle where the rains mean that you don't get it. We don't have that problem. Now we are looking at spillage because the rainfall has been too much. So the water behind the dam is more than enough. We don't have that problem. We may have problems with the machine maintenance, but that's a different aspect.
Right.
Maintenance costs money. Everything you look at in this country is because the money has been dissipated, it hasn't been planned properly, they haven't used it well, and that is the problem we are facing. So it's historical.
Right.
We are only suffering what incompetence has created for us today. And the MPP, we can't wait for December because there must be a paradigm shift. And if you have the energy minister speaking the way he is speaking, in a crisis like this, then there is no need, there's no even, you can tell that the MPP have no remorse or cannot even actualize what they have put this country into. We are all suffering it. Petrol prices are going up again.
Yeah.
All manner of things are happening. People haven't been paid on their bonds, etc., that have been put together. So, look, we are in a bad place.
Right.
And DUMSOR is real and is live. And people have really gone through a lot in the last couple of weeks, month. It's been bad. And I think that your former speakers have said more than I want to add at this stage. But there is a lot. I was happy he was able to even talk about stable national grid as opposed to a stable national power supply.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Because then he breaks it down for the intellectuals who want to get into that to understand that this is where we are. But the bottom line is that it's a money issue.
Right.
And unless we are going to rob Peter to pay Paul, and that is possible, it means something elsewhere is going to suffer for it. But we are talking of huge amounts of money.
It's not a joke.
And it's not a joke. And the MPP government under President Nana Addo and Bawumia have actually disappointed Ghanaians big time. They've now taken us back to a matter that had been resolved.
Do you agree with those? Now, let's talk about some of the steps that state institutions have taken in order to get to the bottom of this. So let's talk about the PURC, for instance. The PURC, as you do know, directed the Electricity Company of Ghana to come up with a comprehensive report on what exactly the situation is. And so that the PURC can take, a more informed decision as to what the way forward is. So they've actually, delivered that, or submitted that report to the PURC. They were asked about 5.
They did 3 out of 5.
They did 3 out of 5. They left out the load shedding issue. Now, again, the PURC then has to take a decision. Have you been impressed so far with the way the PURC has gone about its work? I mean, This thing has been lingering for a very long time. It's been happening with us for a very long time. It's just on the 19th of March that the PURC actually asked the ECG to come report. Do you agree with those who also say that the PURC should go beyond the ECG and also ask Gridco same? That Gridco, what's happening with your transmission of power to ECG? I mean, where do you stand on this?
Why just Gridco? Why not to the power plants?
Right.
That produce power as well.
Right.
Because if there are three stages. There's the production, there's the transmission by Gridco, and then there's ECG distribution. So why stop at Gridco?
I see.
Actually, the problem is at the production.
Right.
So if you go to Gridco and say we don't have the power, then you have to go to the production people and say, why haven't you given them the power?
Right.
And they will tell you, I don't have them. We haven't got the money to fuel the plant. So when they pay us, we'll deal with it. Okay. So why stop at Gridco? If we go straight to the power producers, we'll get the answers we want.
Okay.
They will be diplomatic about it, but they will tell you that this is how much we are giving. This is what we can give, but we're only giving this because this is what we have, or we are not giving at all.
Right.
And then you'll get your answer there, black and white. No problems.
Right.
So far, I'm clear in my mind that the request that it should go further to beyond the ECG.
It's a fair call.
It's a fair call. Go and ask Gridco, but don't stop there. Go and ask the power suppliers, what's happening? Why haven't you been able to give power? Because according to our books, if you were all on production, you will have more than we need. In fact, too much. Not too much because you must always have reserve. But in terms of peak time, you're looking at 3,700. And we should have anything up to about 4,500 in the bag. So we shouldn't have a problem. Even if you want to take account of issues that are going on, take off another 200, you're still good to go.
Right.
So what is the problem? And they'll tell you that we are only being given enough to run 3,300 because we don't have the money to buy the fuel. Period.
That's it. Wow, that's quite interesting. And so I guess that would end the conversation on ECG and matters arising. And maybe I need to ask about the calls for, because we've heard the Ghana Medical Association, for instance, asking for a load shedding timetable because it's actually affecting their work at the hospitals. And you mentioned the issue about Tema General Hospital. I don't know what to make of it because you have a situation where the Tema General Hospital is saying that they are not aware of any woman giving birth and losing a baby. And yet we saw a sister station TV3 interview a woman who was actually complaining that she's lost a baby. She was actually crying. I don't know what you make of that spectacle. It was a sad one, isn't it?
If you let me turn it on its head.
Right.
Why should the opportunity get, even if it's fake news, why should you create an opportunity for fake news?
Okay.
If there was power, would somebody come up with this story? If there was power in Tema General Hospital, would somebody come out with this story? We saw the photographs of the children in the incubators, etc., live on telly.
True.
So are we saying that is also false? Look, we know that there's outages. So the bottom line is, are they or are they not? And you have said, you are not saying there are no outages. You are saying that the degree and the reason for the outages are different.
Right.
But we are telling you that that cannot be the case because it's everywhere.
Okay.
Did you see the clip where in Kumasi, almost every shop on the road, they had generators by the shop doors, so that they could sell their wares. All these small portable generators. Because even Accra that we are complaining is worse outside in the rural areas.
Okay.
It is much worse. The outages are worse than what we are seeing in Accra. And Accra, we are still crying. So, look, I'm trying to be
as charitable as possible.
Diplomatic in my language.
Diplomatic in your language. Okay.
Because it is an anger matter. People should show anger in this issue. Or we are not, just give us a timetable.
That's it.
That is all.
Put the politics aside.
What is this? What is this?
But they're hoping you wouldn't use it against them. Anyway, let's do this. In fact, for the first time, we're going to be doing something on Inside Pages. We're going to be inviting our audience who are watching us to call us and tell us. And it's going to be not a regular, but it's going to be one of the features of the show now, where depending on the topic and the discussion, we'll ask you to phone in and tell us what you make of it or share some experiences. So today, I have actually been directed my lead producer, Derek, to pick your calls. It's 0245-834-980. 0245-834-980. Derek will put it up on the screen, but it's 0245-834-980. Call us and let us know what the power situation in your area is. ECG just told us that they have fixed whatever problems exist within the power sector, and so you shouldn't be having any problems. If you do have a problem, then it's a localized fault, which has been with us since the days of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. But now, no more, intermittent power outages. It's not the same experiences that you have. It's 0245-834-980. I'm told I have a caller now. Good morning. Is what, Zach?
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Good morning. I'm told that I have Zach on the line. Good morning, Zach.
Yeah.
Zach, thanks for joining us. Oh, okay. I'm told I have Musa on the line. Musa, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Yes. What's the power situation in your area?
It's very terrible, my brother. Very, very terrible.
What do you mean by it's terrible? Explain, please.
The reason I'm saying it's terrible is that you will be around by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening. The lights will go off and come at 3 o'clock. When it comes at 3 o'clock in the morning, you will be there to go off again and come around 11. No proper planning. You can't plan with this. We are requesting for simple timetable. And the minister has the audacity to tell us that we should go and produce our own timetable. After using my money to buy my own credit. It's not that you are giving it for free. And could remember, when the MD of SCD said that it's not a privilege that we should give this, it's not a right, but it's a privilege that we have it. After using my money to buy my own credit, is that the reward?
Musa, I need you to do two things for me. First of all,
yes, please.
Where are you calling us from? And please speak up because we can hardly hear you.
I'm calling from Niboy Town.
Niboy Town, okay.
Yes, I'm the local chief of the Niboy Town.
Okay.
And I'm speaking as an opinion leader. I'm not speaking as an ordinary person.
Okay. Yes. But Musa, how long has this situation existed and persisted?
Oh, almost about 3-4 months now.
4 months now?
3-4 months, yes. This is what we are going through.
And the times that it goes off and the time it comes back has been consistent?
It's been consistent.
Wow.
It's been consistent.
Okay. All right, Musa, thank you very much for calling us. So we're picking some calls. This is Inside Pages. Inside Pages today is asking you to call us and share with us your experiences with the power outages. And we're doing this because the ECG has told us that they fixed the problem. There's no more intermittent power outages. And so we want to find out from you whether you are experiencing the same. Jerry from Accra has called us. Jerry, where exactly in Accra are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Tessano.
Tessano, okay.
Yes.
What's the situation there, Jerry?
I want to speak to... yes, I'm calling from Tessano.
Okay. Jerry...
for all this while...
Please speak up a bit, Jerry.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, for all this while, people have been crying over this thing. I know there are places where this problem are persisting.
Okay. Jerry, when you call us, Jerry, can you hear me? Okay, so Jerry's call has actually dropped, but let me just do this. When you call us, please turn down the volume of your set. Otherwise, it gives us a very terrible feedback. So just reduce the volume on your TV set and talk to us. Otherwise, we struggle to hear what you're saying. So it's 0245-834-980, 0245-834-980. Inside Pages this morning is having a conversation about the power situation. The ECG has said that it has fixed the problem, and so you shouldn't be having the erratic power situation that we've been experiencing for some time now. But I want to find out from you whether that's the case. So who else do we have on the line next? Good morning.
So we are not with addition. We are with Disco, but still the light of every day. At times we come off 6 o'clock and come the following day 9.
Yes. Who am I speaking with, sir?
We are speaking with back from Timpani constituency, Upper East.
Sorry.
Timpani constituency, Upper East region.
Oh, you're calling from Upper East region.
Yeah.
Timpani.
Yeah.
And the name again, Bash. Pat.
Yes.
Okay, that's in Patrick. Pato. All right, Pat, please go ahead, sir.
So the light of is too much. It will come at times, will go off 6 p.m. and then come the following day, 11 at time 9. So it is very serious.
And Pat, it's been like that for how long? Hello, Pat, can you hear me? Okay, so I think that the call has dropped. So 0245-834, we'll just take 2 more calls. 0245-834-980, you can see it on the screen. Please call us and let us know whether you have electricity or you don't have electricity. What's the electricity situation in your area? ECG says it has fixed the problem. Let's know whether your problem has been fixed as well. Call us, tell us where you're calling from, and then turn down the volume on your TV set. Yes, good morning. Is that Henry?
Yes.
Okay, Henry, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Adeso.
Adeso, wonderful.
Yes.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, there is a problem at Adeso. You see, the light off is too much. There was yesterday small rainfall yesterday. So around 5:30 to 6 o'clock, there was a light off in Adeso. Up to now, there is no light in Adeso. Right now, I'm speaking to you.
Wow. And it's been like that for how long, sir?
For about let me take it about a month ago.
Wow.
They will just light will go off. That's one time they will switch to it. Or there's the whole lot of night. There is no light.
Do you have lights this morning?
No. Up to now,
you don't.
As I'm speaking to you right now, there's no light in Adeso since yesterday night.
The whole of Adeso.
Yes.
Wow. So I don't know how you feel about ECG saying that it has fixed the problem.
It's a very sad because, you know, Adeso is a small village, Upper West Achim district. Understand me?
Okay.
If you can find it yourself, you will know what I'm saying.
So I'm wondering, how are you watching the program this morning if you don't have light?
No, I left there this morning to my work at Tama.
Okay.
So I just called one of my brother. Right now, I called my brother that his phone is not going on. So I called my sister, and my sister was complaining about the light of since yesterday.
Okay.
Because I left there this dawn around 4:30 to 5 o'clock to Tama, my workplace. I'm working at Tama right now.
Sorry about that. We sympathize and empathize with you. Thank you very much. I will take one more caller, and then we would end the phone insurgent and move into the developments from the judiciary, from the court. I'm talking about the Supreme Court. So we'll take one last call. I'm told 02. Let me again. Please put up the line again on the screen. Bernard. Good. Now Bernard is our final call, I believe. Bernard, good morning. Where are you calling us from?
Good morning, sir. Please, I'm calling from Kwabena.
Kwabena, wonderful. Bernard, thank you very much for joining us. So what's the situation in your area? ECG says it has fixed the problem. Has yours problem been fixed?
No, please. It has not yet been fixed.
So you don't have electricity this morning as we are talking?
You have electricity. You have light.
You have light this morning?
Yes, I have light.
Okay.
But the problem I have is how politically are we solving this issue? How politically are we solving this issue?
Right.
That's my problem.
Right.
Because you see, this is a problem that has been haunting us for years. A problem that has been haunting us for years. So what measures are we putting in place as political parties, both MPP and NDC? What are we doing to solve this problem?
Right.
And this normally happens getting to the end of the year. When we are, in the election year, this is when all this will happen. So who is behind this? And what is happening after all? This has been hunting us for all these years. It hunted Kufuor, it hunted Mahama, and it is still hunting us Kufuor now.
Right.
Why? What is the cause?
Okay.
And what solution? What measures are we putting in place to solve it?
All
Not, is it going to be back and forth like this? And this man over there, sorry, I don't know whether it's this person or what. The man over there was complaining about that it has killed people, those people in incubators. When did this thing happen? I think just this year. NDC's own took us, I think, 4 years. Then that means it killed a lot of people by then. It killed a lot of people by then. If it is killing people by now, then it killed most people, a lot of people by then. Which is very sad. So are you going to continue with this back and forth? Somebody gaining political power out of this crisis.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be going to the Supreme Court to understand why the Supreme Court decided to grant a request by the Attorney General for an expedited action on an injunction application which was brought before it by a sitting member of Parliament for South Dai, the Honourable Roxing Eche Dafiamakbo. We'll try to understand that. And whether the Attorney General did anything wrong by not informing the other party, I'm talking about Dafiamakbo's lawyer, that this is a request it was actually asking of the Chief Justice so that they can prepare and go to court and fight it or otherwise. We will get into that conversation after this break.
I heard that he said he had come to my office and somebody at the front desk had told me expressly that I had said no process in respect of that particular case should be received. So you see, he didn't know that we had a CCTV system in our office that even has an audio capacity. And so we have them on the CCTV recording. What he actually did was he came in, said he was the bailiff of the court, then removed the process. And the front desk lady saw my name on it and said, oh, I am not in the office, so can you wait and let my boss come and sign for the process? He said he was calling his boss to check whether that would be appropriate. Okay. And after he exited, that he was making a call, in fact, he told them, oh, I'm making a call, I'll be right back. He disappeared. And we have it all on the CCTV. Okay. Clearly, it is a bare-faced lie for him to say that this was what happened, that he came in and we literally resisted taking process. He hasn't indicated to me that he received it.
All right, welcome back. We sincerely apologize for that. We were playing Nick Baku-Samwado, who is a lawyer for the Honorable Nelson Dafiamakbo, and yet we had the PURC and the ECG logo there. It was just a bit of a little mix-up, was due to some technical challenge. So we sincerely apologize, because that can get a little confusing. You're wondering who is doing the talking. But anyway, so I did indicate before we went on break that we're going to go to the Supreme Court. But before we do that, the Honorable Alex Segbefia wants to just say something briefly before we go to the Supreme Court.
To the NDC government.
Right.
We had DUMSOR, yes. It's not Kufuor had it, we had it, MPP had it.
Right.
The difference is that we acknowledged we had it and we put out a timetable.
Right.
At least people could plan their lives in the difficulty that existed. Mm-hmm. That is not happening now, and that is the difference.
Right.
Let us be clear about that. And bearing in mind the history in which the MPP used it as a political tool,
right,
you would have thought that coming into government and having had excess power, they would never have taken us back into DUMSOR. Here we are again. Why should we keep them?
Right.
Not at all.
Okay. That clarity must be made, I mean, in your estimation. Yes. So we now go to the Supreme Court, and something very interesting happened in the course of this week, where the Supreme Court actually dismissed an application which was brought before it by the Member of Parliament for the South Dai. That's the Honourable Roxin Nelson Dafiamakbo, challenging the approval of the ministerial and deputy ministerial nominees. In a unanimous decision, the 5-member panel of the court, chaired by the Chief Justice herself, held that his application was frivolous and an abuse of court processes. Now, the applicant, Roxanne Nelson Defemako, had sought to halt the vetting process in Parliament pending the determination of his suit challenging the constitutionality of the president's decision to reassign ministers without Parliament's involvement. But before this case was heard, the Attorney General actually wrote to the Chief Justice, right? He wrote a letter to the Chief Justice requesting of the Chief Justice to rush the hearing of the case. Because remember that a date had not been scheduled or settled for the hearing. So he said, this particular issue, I want you to hear it quickly because of some reasons were yet, I haven't come across that letter. That letter has not been made public yet, but he gave reasons to the Chief Justice according to the Attorney General. And the Chief Justice thought that the reasons he gave were sound. And so the Chief Justice decided to grant him that hearing. And so the case was heard on Thursday. And the Chief Justice herself chaired the 5-member panel and again ruled that what the FEMAPO was seeking to do was an abuse of the court processes and also was frivolous. And so what it means is that Parliament can go ahead and do its work. Now, to put all of this in perspective, let me bring in the Honorable Alex Sebefia. Remember, he's also a private legal practitioner, to tell us what he makes of what has happened. But before then, can we listen to the interview that we had with Nick Bakpo Samwado, who is a lawyer for Roxanne Nelson Defemakpo, to tell us what actually happened when bailiffs went to his office to serve him with court processes. Two things. He was supposed to have served him with a hearing notice that the hearing was actually going to take place on Thursday, and also to serve him with the I'm told there was another injunction application or so by the Attorney General. I'm not too clear what, but there was actually a hearing notice which was supposed to be served him, but he apparently wasn't in the office, and so the bailiffs actually dropped the thing on the table. But the bailiffs told a different story to the court and actually swore under an oath, but told something different to the chief judge, in fact, the court, let me say the panel. So what he said and what Nikwaku Asamoah is saying are two different things. But first of all, I want to take the views of the Honorable Alex Sebefia, or when he makes of what happened on Thursday, whether he wanted one of those who thinks that it was actually a travesty of justice. All right, so you're a lawyer, and you're a lawyer in good standing. You've been doing this, you've been practicing for a very long time. What do you make of what happened as far as the Supreme Court's ruling was concerned?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think the Supreme Court has done anything unlawful.
Right.
They've acted in a way which has raised concerns. But in terms of law...
Right. They've not erred.
No. But it leaves a bitter taste in the mouth of many who are observers.
Okay.
And you should understand that the Supreme Court, whether it likes it or not, in any government is always under scrutiny with the way in which
it does its work.
Does its work in relation to the executive.
Right.
And increasingly, the current Supreme Court is being seen to be, and I'm not saying that they are, but it's being seen to be not looking at or dealing with issues in a way and manner which cause some concern.
Right.
More so than perhaps in the past. And the reason why that is coming is simply because one would have thought that in a case or in cases which have similar issues, where there are both two injunctions, the first in time would have been heard. And the first in time is actually quite a serious matter. Because in terms of weight, the ability to stop someone from swearing in ministers, and then the ability to question or not even receive a document or question the president's decision on a matter from the legislature, then when you look at it in that light, some will say that the issue of the legislature is actually more important.
Okay, tell me more.
Why? Because we have lived in this country under the Kufuor administration.
But before you go ahead, sir, let me do this. I'm actually told that I am the Counsel Isaac Wilberforce is also joined us via Zoom. I think at least it will be fair for me to welcome him so that the viewers know that he's on. So, Isaac Wilberforce, Mensa, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Good morning. I hope I'm loud and clear.
You're very loud and very clear. Now, he is the spokesperson for the Ministry of Justice. So that's the ministry that I'm talking about, the ministry in the middle of he's a spokesperson for that particular ministry, so that he would set the record straight and seek to clarify some of the issues that have come up. Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Under the Kufuor administration, there was a minister, I believe, the roads minister, Anani.
Right.
A case was brought against him. And so he had to leave the ministry. Or he was asked to leave the ministry.
Right.
He was not replaced. A caretaker minister was put in there.
Okay.
And this went on for over a year.
Right.
So the placement of ministers cannot be more important than when you have a legislature bringing a whole matter to a president where there's a serious constitutional matter that has to be dealt with.
Right.
And the injunction or should not be heard whether or not the president's hand can be stayed or not. And that, for me, is more telling. It is more poignant a matter to be dealt with expeditiously. Because you have the two major arms of government, or two of the major arms of government. The judiciary is the third. But you have the executive and you have the legislature. And for once, I believe I have not, might be the case, but let me just say that this is a case in which the speaker and all his 200 and something odd parliamentarians are on all fours.
True.
There's no discrepancy in parliament, whether you are MPP or NDC. They've all decided this is what we want.
Unanimous decision.
Unanimous decision by them. So it then is a direct conflict of legislature against president.
Executive.
So for me, an injunction in such a case is more poignant, and I'm not going to the merits of the case. No.
Yes, because it's in court.
It's more poignant, and therefore should have been expedited.
Right.
Now, some will say that, well, there was no application before the court. That is correct. But the court sets dates.
True.
And therefore, if you have a case which is linked, nothing stops the court from acting on its own volition. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because this is the Supreme Court. Look, there are two ways of bringing a matter of this nature. You have either a motion for abridgment of time, which didn't occur in this case.
Exactly, because there's no time set.
So you had to write a letter. A letter was written to ask for this to be expedited. The rules are that if you write a letter for such a thing, you should copy the other side.
Is it compulsory? Is it mandatory?
Yes. You don't. It's not an ex parte application. You're asking. It's not an ex parte application. The matter is known to all parties. So you let all sides be aware.
The Attorney General says, no, it is a duty of the court to notify the other party, not his duty.
Well,
it would have been nice. It would have been gentle. It would have been sweet for him to have done that professionally. But if I don't do it, there's nothing legally wrong about it.
So if it's the duty of the court and he hasn't done it, and the court does it in a very quick manner,
yes, on the same day that the day is going to be heard,
doesn't it then give credence to this perception?
That's something on top of
That's something. Yes. Look, the first statement I made was that it's not unlawful. But what message are you sending out there?
Okay, so it's not just about the law, it's also about the optics.
Exactly. And I'm telling you that the optics at the moment are not good. So you do things that don't worsen it.
Right.
Why? It's a simple matter. You are going to make an application for abridgment of time. Or not abridgment of time, but the effect is the same. A request to change, to bring the date quicker. Why don't you want the other side to know? Why won't you tell them? What's the issue? So you do it. I'm aware that now there's also been a request for the other matter.
Yes, the speaker.
Yes,
it's
done
same.
But it didn't have, my humble opinion, and I stand to be corrected, it didn't have to wait. It didn't have, because the court who is seized of the matters will know that, look, if I'm dealing with this matter and this, I have an inherent right to say, I want to hear this case.
But the Supreme Court has loads of cases it's looking at. If you've brought your case before the Supreme Court,
yes,
and you're not following up on it, you're not asking for, like the Attorney General said, he says, I am interested in protecting my colleague ministers who, by virtue of this application injunction, cannot be granted, cannot be approved.
I heard on a different,
so that's why I'm following up.
On a different radio station, he said he didn't do it for the other side because they are not the plaintiffs. But he's not the plaintiff in this as well.
No, he said he's the Attorney General for the government.
Yes, but he's not a plaintiff. He's a defendant, or he's
a plaintiff. Sorry, he's a defendant because he's been
respondent. He's a respondent.
Yes, he's a respondent. Yes. Look, the point he's making is that I am the lawyer for the executive.
Yes.
These are my colleague ministers. They are in trouble. I need to go and save them. I need to go and rescue them.
If you figure that a battle between the president and the legislature is second to this matter, then I rest my case.
That's in his estimation.
And that is unfortunate. That's my view.
He says it's affecting the work of government,
both
government machinery.
Why? What is happening is not affecting the work of government.
He doesn't think so.
So that is his view.
Yes.
So I'm entitled to mine.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that many agree with me that this matter should have been expedited even by the court itself.
Right.
Because they have an inherent jurisdiction.
True.
They set dates.
True.
The colleague has said, this matter is so important, I want it heard now. Write to the parties and let them come and deal with it because it's that important. But yes, they will go back and this is what we call legal issue. So, okay, you haven't written to us formally. So, as a result, till somebody writes to us, we are not obliged to act. Good luck.
Isaac, Honorable, Counsel, good morning. It's good to have you again. So, you work at the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General Department as the PRO of the ministry. Now, the Attorney General has come under some flack, some heavy criticisms for deciding not to copy the other party his letter to the Chief Justice, informing the Chief Justice that he wants an expedition. He wants an expedited action on that injunction application, which has been brought before the Honorable Roxanne Nelson de Fiamapo. Why did the Attorney General decide to do this on their blind side up until the day of the hearing? What is the Attorney General hiding? Why did he do that if he really meant well?
There's absolutely, once again, good morning to you and good morning to your numerous viewers all across the globe. And also, you seem to have asked all the right questions, and that is, I wouldn't expect any less from your good self based on your experience and your research that you've already done into the matter. So there's nothing, absolutely nothing that the Office of the Attorney General is hiding. So I heard Honorable Alex Segbefia, who I respect very much, and especially today, he's earned even more respect from me when he says expressly and explicitly so that legally, absolutely nothing wrong has been done. But then going down the line, he also suggests that there are some rules that have been broken, and that's the point where we differ. No rule has been broken. Maybe if Honorable would point out to any specific rule in maybe CI 16 or CI 47 that has been broken, where the Attorney General was supposed to have necessarily copied according to our rules, because our rules are law. our rules form part of the law. So if we are saying that legally nothing bad has happened or nothing untoward has been done, then it means that when it comes to the aspect of rules as well, same has also been satisfied. Okay, so that being said, there's no rule that mandates the Attorney General or any party to a matter. So now I'm removing the Attorney General for purposes of legal education for the general public. I'm removing the Attorney General from this equation to say that any party to a matter at the Court of Appeal, at the Supreme Court, can actually write to the Chief Justice for such, for such a matter to be heard. For any matter, you state your reasons and then you pray that the matter be heard early. So there's no rule existing in any book that says that you are supposed to copy the other side, the party on the other side. What you're supposed to do is that you can write to the Chief Justice, and remember that under Article 1254 of the 1992 Constitution, the Chief Justice is not only playing a supervisory role for the judiciary, the Chief Justice also plays an administrative role. So writing a letter to the Chief Justice in her administrative capacity is not in any way interfering with judicial process or any sort of rule that has been broken. So that is actually what the Office of the Attorney General did, or the Attorney General, that's what he did. He wrote to the Chief Justice and sought an earlier date. And what also followed, or corollary to that process, what happens is that the court will then issue hearing notice to the parties to appear. And that's exactly what happened, Mr. Moore.
Now, again, you apart from the fact that you're a lawyer, but the fact that you're the PRO for the Ministry of Justice and the Attorney General's Department, you also have been in the media. Spokesperson. Yes, you've also been within the media space. You're Ghanaian as well. You watch of the space. Now, like Alex Sebefia has said, there are 2 injunctions before the courts. Now, all of these raise constitutional issues, right? One came on a certain date, and then 2 weeks later, the other one was also filed. Now, if you have a situation where the one which was filed earlier is yet to be heard, but the ones that was filed later, you have the Attorney General pushing for that to be heard, when in the estimation or in the view of some Ghanaians, in fact, the matter that bothers on the Richard Sky suit is actually even weightier than this one. Won't you expect, naturally, that the Attorney General would be saying that, well, even though I have the right under the Constitution, or guaranteed under the Constitution, to request for an early date for this to be heard, I must also be mindful of public opinion and public perception, because then that creates a certain impression that I am more interested in protecting or pushing the interest of my colleagues whose approval is in limbo than pushing for the matter about the LGBTQ+, which is before the Supreme Court, which a date is even yet to be settled or set on. And how, I mean, the optics of it, how will people think about me? Even to the extent of writing. When he was making that request, he decided not to copy the party on the other side, which is well within his right. There's nothing legally wrong. It is not a judicial process. It's purely administrative. But this is political. Wouldn't you have expected, naturally, that the Attorney General would be considering all of these in making this move, so that, we don't create all these suspicions and perceptions and so on and so forth?
Unfortunately, how our court system works, especially at the level of the Supreme Court, which is the apex court of the land, is not first come, first serve sort of arrangement. It's who is more serious about their matter before the justices of the Supreme Court. So the Attorney General does not, for instance, have the liberty of, let's say, public opinion over law, or public opinion over what is absolutely necessary. Not to say the other matters are not necessary, but as we have established earlier, which fortunately Honorable Alex Segrefier also agrees, that any party to the matter can make such an application. If we are talking about first come, first serve, I have a matter at the Supreme Court as far back as 2021. So maybe mine should have even been heard earlier than Roxanne's or even Richard Sky's matter. But, not to say that I'm not serious, but plaintiffs or applicants in any matter before the courts may have various reasons why they haven't pushed the matter forward. So any party to the matter, whether you're a plaintiff or a defendant, you can make such an application for the matter to be brought forward. Like you have said, you have done your research, I can tell. There was no original date given, which is the norm. The fact that an original date has not been given, so let's just clear that communication, which has been put out there by some persons, that why was there not a date given when they filed the motion? That's what happens at the Court of Appeal and at the Supreme Court. So then, subsequent to that, you have taken your case to court, you need to push the matter. If you haven't pushed the matter, any party to the case can push the matter. And if there are several constitutional matters, even on the day that we were in court, we had a gentleman who came with, he said he was going to represent himself in court. I'm sure your media men were there, said he was going to represent himself, had a constitutional issue, called it an appeal, and came under Article 2(1) of the Constitution. All those confusing things, which were very, very off. But because the court is fair and just, the court did indeed give him hearing. So there are thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of constitutional matters in the court. And the Attorney General cannot simply say that all constitutional matters, simply because they are constitutional matters, let me write to the Chief Justice to have this matter expedited. Now, this is not the case as in the Richard Anani case, as Honorable has cited, where you have mentioned one minister. This is the case where several ministers, this is about probably about 80% of the ministers are being held in limbo, or their approvals are in limbo because of this injunction application. So if the Attorney General feels like, so this is quite dire, this is quite a serious situation. Okay. And once again, not to say it's more serious than the LGBTQ matter in court, but the LGBTQ has parties involved. It has the Richard Alaska himself, it has Parliament, and it has the Attorney General. So since it has Parliament, and you're saying, or you're suggesting that there's a rift between the legislature and the executive, maybe the legislature should push that case forward as well. And fortunately, the legislature have taken a step to indeed move the case forward.
All right. Just finally, if you can do this briefly, the matter of the timing of the serving of the hearing notice, which was done on the D-Day. The court bailiff went there. There was nobody there to receive it, and he has to drop it on the table as he left. I mean, I'm talking about what he told the court. We've heard Nick Bako-Samado sing a different story. I don't know whether you have any quick thoughts on that before you can take leave of us.
Well, as to what happened, I think that will be between the bailiff and the proof that Nick Bako says he has, which I thought would have gone, the video which I thought would have gone viral by now. So the proof he says he has, and actually whether indeed the person, the bailiff, perjured himself when he made those statements in court. So if there's a direct discrepancy, I'm sure parties in the matter, anybody concerned, will know how to make such an application.
All right, thank you very much. Isaac Wilberforce.
I want to...
You want to ask him a question?
I want clarification on that point.
Okay, so Isaac, Honorable wants to ask a question.
You know, when you don't know the other parties in a case,
right,
we normally do ex parte applications.
True.
Convention and good ethics means that when all parties are known in a case, anything you file, you let the other side know.
Right.
So if it is the case, and that's why I said it's not unlawful, but it is not good ethical behavior, or for that matter, it is not good practice not to let the other side know. So that's why I started by saying it's not unlawful, but actually it is not good legal practice.
Right.
You know your opponent, you know you're going to make this application. Any document you file, serve the other side.
Right.
We do it every day.
Right.
And that is the point I wanted to, when he made, yes, I agree. It's not unlawful.
Right.
But I don't think it was good practice.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Isaac. And you have a great day, sir.
Thank you very much, Moro.
All right. That's Isaac Wilberforce Mensah. Is a spokesperson for the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice. So I'll just take 5 minutes of Honorable's time to. So the Speaker has written to. He's written to the Chief Justice and requesting for a similar thing. I mean, what are we looking forward to?
Well, let's wait and see. I am clear in my mind that with the issue of there are three major arms of government.
Yeah.
Media is the fourth realm.
Yeah.
But we know we have the...
You call us a fourth estate.
Exactly. So you have the judiciary,
right,
who oversees and interprets everything for us. But you have the executives and the legislature, both of whom are elected officials in terms of the top.
Yeah.
So when you have a situation where the two don't agree, nothing could be more important,
right,
as far as I'm concerned, in terms of importance. So I would have thought, notwithstanding everything my colleague has said, that, look, the Attorney General should have expedited this matter as well, straight away.
He says those who are interested should do that. That's what he said.
Fine. So he is a party to that other case. So, in effect, when we say that he doesn't see it as important, we are right.
Yeah.
Because he had that opportunity as well.
Yeah.
And that, for some of us, is of concern. And the optics are not good.
Okay. So that's the Honorable Alex Agbafi. I want to thank you very much for his time. So this is where we end today's edition of Inside Pages. Let me just quickly do this. I've got tons of your messages. Unfortunately, I won't be able to read all your messages, but Koku Mauli Nanegba, he sends a message. It says, Moro, in the stricter sense of separation of power, should the Executive Secretary of the President write a letter to the legislature asking it not to transmit a letter? Has the executive arm that power? That aside, can anyone or process stop the president from conducting his or her constitutional mandate? In the instant case, the Constitution has provided in Article 10678 what the president must do, but to write to state, don't transmit the letter, is offensive and an affront to democracy. Now, when you read the Attorney General's letter to the president, he didn't say don't. Okay, you're talking about the letter to the Executive Secretary's letter to Parliament. I think that's what Nanegba is talking about. Yes, that I agree. Yes, I get that. In this instant case, the Constitution has provided under what the president has to do, but to write to the state, don't transmit the letter, is offensive and an affront to the democracy, or to democracy. I fear and think the way things are going, one day a president or his executive secretary is going to write a letter to the CJ, blatantly refusing to comply with the Supreme Court order. The democracy must be about regard and respect for each organ or arm of government. That's Koku Mauli Nanegba. Now, this one here says, good morning, Mr. Moro. My name is Daria, I believe, from Tamale. Please extend my greetings to Mr. Alex Agbafi. I think Honorable Napo's statement is very unfortunate and is only a characteristic of an incompetent energy minister belonging to a clueless a party which is about to exit power. My appeal to all Ghanaian voters is that they should vote the NDC come December 7 as part of the responsibility of building the Ghana we want. Thanks. That's from, he's called Daria from Tamale. And finally, this one here from a champion who says, good morning, Mr. Moro. I think the Wilberforce guy has done justice to the topic. The NDC's noise is much ado about nothing. They are hell-bent on insisting that the Chief Justice is biased, but the Chief Justice is not biased. Hardy from Pig Farm, if I didn't read this, Hardy will be on my case. Hardy from Pig Farm says the Supreme Court does not represent the interest of the nation, but sovereign will of the president. They should remember power, they say, belongs to the people. Allah will see the great NDC through. That's coming from Hardy in Pig Farm. All right, so thank you very much for watching. It's been, I believe, another successful edition of Inside Pages. I've been hosting the Director of International Relations for the NDC, the Honorable Alex Agbafi, who is also a private legal practitioner who's been with us since the beginning. I also want to say a big thanks to Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah, who is the spokesperson for the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's Department. I also want to say a big thanks to Nanambuisi VII, who is the Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security. And also the Honorable Samuel Atachia, who is the chairperson for the Mines and Energy Committee. Also a member of Parliament for Ebuakwa South. Yes, you don't need to forget that. My name is Audu Moro, and I hosted a show this morning with the help of my hardworking producer, Derek Adote. Have a good morning and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.